Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Om Vishnu Pad Parahamsa Parivajikacharya Ashtatara Shata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Om Vishnu Pad Parahamsa Parivajikacharya Ashtatara Shata Shri Srimad Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananti Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Shamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhan Ki Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Ganga Mai Ki Yamuna Mai Ki Bhakti Devi Ki Tulasi Devi Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Gaur Premanande All glories to the simple devotees. All glories to the simple devotees. All glories to the simple devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam namaskritya naram cheva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudirayat nashta prayasha bhadreshu nityang bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. Hare Krishna. So we are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 8, text number 34. Gunadikan mudam lipsit anukrosham gunatamat metrim samanat anvichen natapir abhibhuyate. So you can repeat. Gunadikan mudam lipsit Anukrosham gunatamat Maitrim samanad anvichin Nataper abhibhuyate. Gunadikan mudam lipsit Anukrosham gunatamat Maitrim samanat anvichin Nataper abhibhuyate. Gunadikan mudam lipsit Anukrosham gunatamat Maitrim samanat anvichin Natapir abhibhuyate. Gunadikan mudam lipsit Anukrosham gunatamat Maitrim samanad anvichin Nataper abhibhuyate. Gunadikan mudam lipsit Anukrosham gunatamat Maitrim samanad anvichin Nataper abhibhuyate. Gunadikan mudam lipsit Anukrosham gunatamat Maitrim samanad anvichin Nataper abhibhuyate. Okay. Guna adikat, one who is more qualified. Mudam, pleasure. Lipset, one should feel. Anukrosham, compassion. Guna adhamat, one who is less qualified. Maitrim, friendship. Samanat, with an equal. Anvichet, one should desire. Na, not. Tape, by tribulation. Apipuyate, becomes affected. Translation. Every man should act like this. When he meets a person more qualified than himself, he should be very pleased. When he meets someone less qualified than himself, he should be compassionate toward him. And when he meets someone equal to himself, he should make friendship with him. In this way, one is never affected by the threefold miseries of this material world. Purport. Generally, when we find someone more qualified than ourselves, we become envious of him. When we find someone less qualified, we deride him. And when we find someone equal, we become very proud of our activities. These are the causes of all material tribulations. The great sage Narada, therefore, advised that a devotee should act perfectly. Instead of being envious of a more qualified man, one should be jolly to receive him. Instead of being oppressive to a less qualified man, one should be compassionate towards him, just to raise him to the proper standard. And when one meets an equal, instead of being proud of one's own activities before him, one should treat him as a friend. One should also have compassion for the people in general who are suffering due to forgetfulness of Krishna. These important functions will make one happy within this material world. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manovishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Gurun Shri Yuttaparakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunitam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvatutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gourangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhana Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatirubhyascha Kripasindubhya evacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Okay, so let's just zoom out and see where we are in Bhagavatam. So Dhruva Maharaj, he was very much hurt by the words of Suruchi, the favorite wife of the king. And then his mother Suniti advises him to go to the forest and pray to Krishna to fulfill his heart's desires. So now he's left and he's determined to practice severe austerities so that he can fulfill the desires within his heart. And then Narada Muni is very impressed by this little Dhruva. He's just a little boy and he's so determined to practice devotional service or to practice these austerities to see Krishna. So then Narada Muni decides to come and advise little Dhruva. And he says that this process of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it's so wonderful. But you should understand that these kinds of austerities are not actually possible for ordinary people. And it's very difficult to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he explains that some yogis, even after many, many births of trying to reach God realization, still couldn't find the end of this path of God realization. So, you're just a little boy and it's better if you go home. So this is what Narada Muni is telling Dhruva. He's saying, you should just go home, and when you're grown up, then you can practice all these austerities. But right now, you should just go home and play with your friends and live a normal life. And then Narada advises Dhruva that you can actually remain satisfied in any condition of life. So he's advising him in this way to help him deal with his particular situation. And he's saying that actually you can remain satisfied in happiness or distress if you just understand that everything is happening by the arrangement of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And actually, and now this verse today is, every man should act like this. When he meets a person more qualified than himself, he should be very pleased. When he meets someone less qualified than himself, he should be compassionate towards him. And when he meets someone equal to himself, he should make friendship with him. In this way, one is never affected by the threefold miseries of this material world. So here, Narada Muni, he is advising Dhruva in a particular way, and if Dhruva kind of applied this to his particular situation, then he would see that, oh, actually my father and all of his wives are my seniors. I can respect them, I can listen to them, and I don't have to take to heart what they're saying. And I should make friends with people my age who are my equals. I should just go home and live a normal life, like Narada is saying. But then, as we shall see in the next few texts, that Dhruva, he actually explains to Narada Muni that, I'm sorry, what you're saying is true, but I can't really take this to heart because he still had that determination to see Krishna. He didn't want to just give up his desire. So Narada Muni, he's actually testing Dhruva. He's testing him to see how serious is this Dhruva. And that is actually the duty of Guru when he meets a potential disciple who wants to make progress in spiritual life, then he has to test his disciple. How determined are they actually? What do they really want? So here Dhruva is being advised in a particular way. But we can also still apply this instruction to our lives. It's not that what Narada Muni is saying isn't completely applicable to us, because Guru always speaks according to Shastra. Guru, Sadhu and Shastra, they all speak the same, because person Bhagavatam and book Bhagavatam are non-different. So here Narada Muni, he's speaking a Vedic injunction, something we should apply to our own lives. So let's take a look at what is it that we can do to actually mitigate the threefold miseries, which is the result of following this. And what are the threefold miseries? There's adibautika klesha, adhyatmika klesha, adidevika klesha. So adidevika klesha, miseries caused by the demigods, like tsunamis, earthquakes. And then adibautika klesha, miseries caused by other living entities like wasps, bees, they sting us. Or in Dhruva's case, Suruchi is causing him some anxiety. And then adhyatmika klesha, miseries caused by the own mind and the own body. And of those three miseries, I'd say the mind is the most troublesome, isn't it? The mind causes so much suffering. And actually, Srila Prabhupada said that 90% of illnesses inside the body are caused by the mind. So a lot of suffering. But all of this can be mitigated simply by following the instructions of Bhagavatam. And this is one instruction, that when we meet a person more qualified than ourselves, we should be very pleased. When we meet someone less qualified, we should be compassionate. And when we meet someone who is equal to us, we should be friends with them. So let's go through the purport. Generally, when we find someone more qualified than ourselves, we become envious of him. So we think, oh, this person, they've got all these good qualities. I wish I had that. Or, oh, this person has all these nice things. That nice car, nice cars. Oh, I wish I had that. Why can't I have that? But a devotee understands that all these qualifications and all these assets are given by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's his desire. And that all of it should actually be used in his service anyway, because it belongs to him. And on the absolute platform, what's true is that there is nobody who is better than anybody else, because each and every one of us has a particular quality, has a particular feature as a spirit soul which is attractive to Krishna in a unique way, because we're all individual souls and we all have something that we can offer to Krishna that no one else can. He has a special rasa with each and every one of us, which is different from the rasa with other people. So actually, on the absolute platform, there's no such thing as someone being more qualified or having more than anyone else, except, of course, the real asset is love for Krishna. That's the real asset. And the real pleasure comes from just wanting to serve and please Krishna with love, with that love. So in that sense, we can see someone as being more qualified than us, as someone who actually loves Krishna more than us. But then it says here, instead of being envious of a more qualified man, one should be jolly to receive him. So this is something we already practice in Krishna consciousness. When we're coming here to ISKCON and we're practicing devotional service, this is something we already practice. And I'm sure all of us have had some experience of greeting our spiritual masters after not having seen them for a long time. And that feeling of seeing them, isn't it just wonderful? So we do already feel jolly when we see somebody more qualified, and it's clear that the person is more qualified than us, and therefore we're actually practicing that already. We're happy to see someone more qualified. And even Srila Prabhupada's disciples, when they used to see him after a long time, they were so happy. And I was hearing one pastime when the devotees were at an airport and they were waiting for Srila Prabhupada to come. And the senior devotees there said, okay, usually when we're at the airport, we make a huge noise, we sing kirtan and we jump over the chairs, but we should understand that the public don't understand these things, so we should tone it down a little, okay? But when Prabhupada came, even they forgot what they had said, and everybody was running and jumping and dancing, and they were so happy to see Prabhupada. So nobody could really take that advice seriously. Yes, so we should be happy when we're seeing somebody more qualified than us, in that sense, in a spiritual sense. Okay, and here, when we find someone less qualified, we tend to deride him. So we think, I'm actually better than this person. That's nice. So let me see what else I can find that they're not good at. That's like the ego, that's the false ego speaking, thinking I am better than other people. But like we already said, on the absolute platform, there is nobody who's better than anybody else really, as spirit souls. And here it says that actually instead of being oppressive to a less qualified man, one should be compassionate towards him just to raise him to the proper standard. And I was thinking about how Srila Prabhupada was so merciful in being compassionate towards others who were less qualified. That's all of us. But there was one nice example I was thinking of. In Paris, there was a center there, and the devotees would go on morning walks every day. And there was this very disheveled-looking person who came to their door one day, and they knocked on the door and said, "Food." But they were very much intoxicated, they smelled very bad, and they weren't in a condition to be able to enter the temple. So they gave him food. They said, "But you have to take a shower before you want to come into the temple." But of course he didn't do that. And he lived outside. And the devotees would go on their morning walk. And one day they went with Srila Prabhupada on their morning walk. And as they were walking past the area where this person lived, they called him Pigpen. That was his nickname, right? As they were walking past this place where he lived, he jumped out of the bushes and he was going to grab Srila Prabhupada's feet. So the devotees stopped him. They thought, no, this can't happen. So they said, no, sorry, Pigpen, you can't touch Prabhupada's feet. That is just not allowed. Even we can't touch Prabhupada's feet. So then they continued with their morning walk, and when they came back to the temple, they saw that the door was open, even though they had closed it. And when they went inside, Pigpen was there, and he jumped and he grabbed Prabhupada's feet and he touched them. And the devotees were trying to stop him, but Prabhupada said, no, 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 leave him. And there was a moment where Pigpen was crying and crying, and he was just grabbing onto Srila Prabhupada's feet. And Prabhupada was stroking Pigpen's head, and he was saying, "It's all right, my boy, it's all right, it's all right." He was just stroking his head, and Pigpen was crying and crying. And the devotees couldn't believe what they were seeing, that they couldn't even touch Prabhupada's feet, but here's this person so disheveled, so seemingly unqualified. He's touching Srila Prabhupada's feet for so long, and Prabhupada is giving his mercy. He's giving this mercy to Pigpen. And then because this had happened, the devotee thought, okay, let's let Pigpen stay. He's got so much mercy from Prabhupada. Let's let him stay. But they shaved his beard, they cut his hair, they let him bathe. Shri Shri Radha Radhanath ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. And he looked like a completely different person. And gradually he started cleaning the temple. He couldn't speak because after taking so much intoxication, his mind wasn't functioning properly. So he couldn't speak, but he cleaned really well, and in that way he became very dear to the devotees. And the devotees, they would go out on Sankirtan, and one day Pigpen was sitting inside the car, the Sankirtan car, with his book bag, and they thought, "Pigpen, where are you going? What are you going to do?" And they thought, okay, let him come. He won't cause any trouble. And then when they stopped to fill up petrol or something like that, Pigpen left, and they thought, oh no, he's going to get us arrested. And he left, and then he came back, and his bag was empty. And they said, "Pigpen, how did you do it? How did you just read all those books so quickly?" And he said, "I just told everyone, Prabhupada saved me. Prabhupada saved me." That's all he said. That was his mantra. Prabhupada saved me. And this devotee actually eventually became able to speak, and he gave wonderful Srimad Bhagavatam classes. But he never forgot that Prabhupada saved him. And so here we're seeing how Srila Prabhupada is exhibiting that quality of being compassionate towards someone less qualified. But that includes all of us. It's just a nice example to show how the mercy that we're getting gives us so much, And we are also then able to share what we've been given with others, so we should be compassionate in that way. And then it says, when we find someone equal, we become very proud of our activities. So we think, oh, okay, well, we could do the same things, but I can do this better, I can do that better, and we become proud. So that's the false ego again speaking. But it says here that actually, when we meet an equal, instead of being proud of our own activities, we should treat him as a friend. So there's actually this verse which says that even if we meet with an enemy, we should treat our enemy in such a way that that they don't even suspect that they are our enemy. So it says, it's text number 6 of chapter 16, canto 8. It says that even an enemy comes to one's home, one should receive him in such a way that the guest will forget that his host is an enemy. According to one's position, one should properly receive anyone who comes to one's home. So this is regarding an enemy. We should treat them so well that they don't even think they're an enemy. But what to speak of a devotee who's more exalted than us? What to speak of the devotees around us? But it's also true that as we make more advancement, we see everybody as being more advanced than us, more qualified than us in spiritual life. Therefore, we can serve everybody in that mood. that's when we become more advanced. And Srila Prabhupada was actually an Uttama Adhikari, so he could see each and every person within their spiritual position. He saw everyone as a devotee, as a part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. But he came down to the level of Madhyam Adhikari to be able to distinguish who to give compassion to, who are his fellow peers, in that way. So the text is also advising us to come to the platform of a Madhyam Adhikari, to be able to distinguish who is the person who we can make friends with, who is the person we should be compassionate to. So this is what the Madhyam Adhikari actually does. And I was also just looking at this concept of miseries that this text is pointing out. One is never affected by the threefold miseries of this material world if they followed this injunction given in Shastra. But let's look at the root cause of all of these threefold miseries. So it's due to this entanglement in the material world, and that's also because we here have this false ego. We envied Krishna. That's like the root of it all. We weren't satisfied with being the servants anymore, and therefore we wanted to forget Krishna. We wanted to be able to be better than somebody else, better than Krishna actually, and thus we ended up here. We're given the facility to try and do that, but that just causes misery. That leads to us dealing with people on the material platform, how it says here, we're envious of those who are more senior, we deride those less qualified, and in this way we're just then products of our envy. But on the other hand, there is the ultimate cure to all of that envy within our hearts. And the ultimate cure is hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord and practicing Krishna consciousness. And I mean, even in the very second verse of the first canto of Bhagavatam, it says that the truth of Bhagavatam uproots the threefold miseries. Because it's the highest truth, it's reality distinguished from illusion. So Bhagavatam is teaching us what is real and what is illusory. So even in this verse we're finding that, we're seeing what is real and what is illusory. What is false ego and what is our real constitutional position. And how do we actually uproot these threefold miseries. And even in the beginning we chant Nashta Prayesha Bhajeshu Nityang Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavat Yutamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. By rendering service to the pure devotee and by regular attendance on classes on Bhagavatam, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead is established as an irrevocable fact. And that's also mentioned in that second verse, that this culture of knowledge of the Supreme Lord is established within the heart. So as we're hearing Bhagavatam, and as we're also picking up the injunctions of Vedic knowledge and being able to apply them to our lives, we're actually overcoming these threefold miseries. We're overcoming the false ego. We're becoming situated in real ego. False ego says, I'm the enjoyer, I'm the controller, I can do as I like. Real ego says, I am the servant of Krishna and I'm the servant of Krishna's devotees. So we become situated in real ego. We learn how to become humble. We learn how to behave according to Guru, according to Shastra and their instructions. And then if our activities are dedicated to the Lord in that way, then we become free from happiness and distress and the material designations of this world. So then ending off here in the purport, it says, one should also have compassion for the people in general who are suffering due to forgetfulness of Krishna. So this is also something we're already practicing when we're coming to ISKCON. we're practicing, we're preaching, we go out and we share what we've been given. Because in my previous class on one of the texts, I was talking about how suffering actually gives great impetus for us understanding what other people are going through, because unless we suffer, we won't really develop much compassion for others. We'll think, oh, it's not so bad, so I don't know what the problem is. You're suffering? I don't know what that is. What is that? But all of us have suffered, and that suffering helps us to understand that this place is so difficult. And once we've found a process which mitigates that suffering eternally, then we think, let me go and give that to someone else. They're waiting. The devotees out there, we're all devotees, everybody, but they're covered over. They don't know, they've forgotten. And it's our duty, because we've been given some opportunity to remember. It's our duty. We have to go out and try and remind them and bring them back. So this aspect of compassion is there. And the more we actually advance in devotional service, the more we want to go and give whatever it is we have been given, whatever mercy we've been given, we want to share. Because Krishna consciousness actually doesn't mean, yes, I will make spiritual advancement. That is not Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness means, I will make advancement, and then I will go and share whatever it is I've got, whatever it is. Even if it's something small, like Saraswati, she was just a young child, but Prabhupada said her preaching is perfect, because all she knew was Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And what did she preach? Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Even if you know that one thing, go and preach that one thing, and that's perfect. That's perfect preaching. And that's also samadhi, actually. It's complete absorption. So whatever knowledge you have, if you're preaching all the time, you're in samadhi, because you're always thinking of Krishna. Because you can't speak about something you don't think about. So if you're speaking about Krishna, it means you're thinking about Krishna. If you're thinking about Krishna all the time, you're in samadhi. This is what Prabhupada explains. Anyways, just a bit of a side note there. So I wanted to just also make the point that those who've gone through the most suffering and overcome that suffering through the process of Krishna consciousness are actually the ones who can reach out with the most compassion. So we are very fortunate to have suffered, and we are very fortunate to have found a process which is so special like this. Oh, yes. I was also thinking about actually how it's an offense not to be happy to see a devotee. I was hearing that from Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj. It's an offense not to be happy when you see a devotee, but the more advanced we get, the more we'll see that everybody is Krishna's devotee, right? Everyone is Krishna's devotee. So we can be jolly to see everyone. And this is what Srila Prabhupada was seeing as well. Prabhupada, he was asked, why does everyone love you? And Srila Prabhupada said, because I love everyone. And it's true, he did. He loved everyone. Yeah. He was seeing himself as everybody's servant. So this is a person who is free from false pride, a person who is free from envy, who realizes his constitutional position in relation to Krishna and sees everyone else in their constitutional position. And such a person, he's worthy of all of our respect and all of our service. And the more advanced we become in Krishna consciousness, the more we'll see also that we are just the servants of the servant. And like I was saying, we become situated in our real ego instead of being situated in the false ego. And then the more we do that, the more we want to please Krishna. And what pleases him the most? What is it that pleases him the most? It's Vaishnav Seva. Because Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, Vaishnav Seva is more superior and glorious than Vishnu Seva. That's what he said. Krishna is more pleased when we serve his devotee. So as we practice, our hearts become more and more soft, and we're able to become increasingly blissful as we realize our true position as Das, Anudas, Anudas. Okay. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Are there any comments, questions, or corrections? Yes, Madhuranga.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for your wonderful class. I was just going to make a point that, there's no cause for us to be envious of another devotee. We all basically, to be respectful and to, accept devotees who are on the higher level, like the gurus. It comes naturally to us, but we find that, amongst ourselves, there could be enviousness amongst, devotees. But we should not have that cause of, be envious of anyone, because we should know that Krishna has given each devotee a special talent or a special service, that a specific devotee may be inclined to book distribution, and another devotee may be inclined to deity worship, another devotee in preaching, another devotee, in different things. So in this way, each devotee has their specific duty that they love doing for the Lord. And so there's no cause for enviousness, because we should understand that Krishna has endowed this person with this specific ability. So, so I was just going to make that point. And, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Madhuranga. Yes. So as spirit souls, we each give pleasure to Krishna in unique ways, but even in our material bodies, we have particular qualities, particular traits that Krishna has decided we should get to be able to serve Him. And each of us can do, still, even now, we can serve Krishna in very unique and wonderful ways. So like you said, there's no reason to be envious. We're all good at something and bad at something in this material world. It's just, we've been given certain traits in these bodies, so all we can do really is see that whatever we've got, actually it's been given to us by Krishna, and therefore it should be offered back to Krishna, whatever it is. And we're inclined in certain ways to serve Him in particular ways according to His desire. Thank you for bringing that up. Yes. Okay.
Sorry, I wasn't listening very attentively, but when we look at the 3 levels of association, it is actually important for us to understand that there are people that are higher than us, there are people that are lower than us in terms of understanding the philosophy and also being able to apply the philosophy. So when we come across people who are higher than us, we should take the association and not give association, because the general tendency for people who are in ignorance is to, when they meet someone on a higher level, is to try to go and tell them a whole lot of things about themselves and see how good I am. Meanwhile, that person is better. So you're trying to give that person association. And it's common for us to actually do that. Also, when we see someone at a lower level, we shouldn't take their association. Because if we do, then yes, we will go down to their level. We should be, like you said, compassionate and try to help that person. And then also you mentioned that the gurus question the devotees, or they look at the devotees and see what is it that they want, but also to look at and establish where the disciple is in terms of understanding Krishna consciousness, so that they can position themselves at their level. Like I always say, the grade 1 teacher is so qualified, but when he goes into grade 1, he teaches that little child with matchsticks.
Yes.
That 1 + 1 is equal to 2. So the challenge for us as devotees is, when we meet someone, to ascertain where that person is, so that we can pitch our talk or our preaching to that person's level, not just give them textbook knowledge and then wonder what happened to this person. So that would be compassion, trying to ascertain where that person is and trying to deal with that person on their level.
Thank you. Yes. So we're being advised to come to the platform of Madhyam Adhikari, at least to be able to preach, to see where is a person at and how do we associate with them. And Bhakti Chaitanya Maharaj was explaining to me when I asked him this question, how do we know if we're giving association or taking? And he said, giving means you're speaking, taking means you're listening. That's what it is. And so Prabhupada, he's on the platform of Uttama Adhikari, but he comes down to Madhyam to be able to know how to relate to different disciples, exactly, to, like you said, to meet them where they're at and speak the ABCs for their benefit. Everything he spoke for us was for our benefit, but he knew exactly how to speak to different devotees in different ways, according to how they could understand. He's very expert. Anything else?
You reminded me of a conversation that Srila Prabhupada had with a little boy who went from India to America, and he asked Prabhupada, Swamiji, why are you doing all this? No one's interested in spiritual life anymore. And then Srila Prabhupada said to this little boy that, look, you came to this country and you came here as a beggar, but I came here as a giver. And that's the difference between the different levels again, like you say. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Oh, Gaurabhumi, yes.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you for the class. Just two thoughts that I had while you were speaking, relating to envy. When we find ourselves like envious of another devotee, we feel that they have something better than us. It's like, oh, they can do something so much nicer, but we let that negativity fester in us instead of actually turning it into an opportunity of, oh, this devotee knows something that I don't. And why do we feel envious is because we feel we have nothing to gain from the association of that devotee sometimes. So we should actually take it as an opportunity. Let me approach this devotee and ask, how do you do this? What is the mood of service you do this in? Let me learn from them. And then, improve ourselves and as well get good association in this way. And another point, I was listening to a class, but I cannot remember who was speaking. And they were saying, when you find yourself envious of someone or, just not having good thoughts about another devotee, what you should do is, at Mangal Arati, you should come before the Lord and you should start praying for that devotee. And that day, you should dedicate all your rounds to that devotee. And then at the end of the day, see how you feel about them. If you still have this, or if you have, a better mood. Thank you.
Thanks, Gaurabhumi. Some practical tips for us. Thank you. Okay. His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki, Gaur Pranande.